EC Media Days. I am Thom Abraham. So glad that you are with us today. We got a lot to do here in the next 2 hours and a half. You're going to hear from Josh Heupel here coming up in just a few minutes live from down in the main meeting.
This year's college nominees. And I think is ingrained in him. That has a vision of how we want to compete, giving our players all the resources that they need, and they're going to go out and chase it every single day for us. It's been fun. You know, a year ago I talked about we were in a race to become as good as we could, as fast as we can. And I'm really proud of what we did in that first 12 months. But so excited about what's going to happen in the future here too. And we took great strides in year one in our culture, a sense of accountability, the standards that we were going to have inside of our program. How are we going to compete together and enjoy that process, and how we were going to be connected and love one another. And as much as anything, we've improved in that area, not just from where we finished the season, but since we got back in January, and really excited about what's happening there. Last year, we broke 8 school records on the offensive side of the football. We finished top 10 in the country in tackles for loss. I think we had 5 guys that were drafted, the most inside of our program since 2017. There's a ton of excitement. I think you know, everybody in Vol Nation, recruits across the country, our fan base, you can feel and sense that energy every single day. And a lot of our success can be attributed to the 3 guys that we brought here today. 3 really special players, but even better people, and how they approach everyday life and how they live their life outside of the game. Hendon Hooker, you guys know his story, transfer that came into our program a year ago, earned the starting job, competed so consistently throughout the year, grew throughout the year, and has taken great strides this offseason. A young man that had an opportunity to declare for the draft, chose to come back to our program, I believe because of the culture that we have and the improvements that he knew he could make in coming back and helping his career as he steps to that next level after the season is over. And Hendon's a pure winner. He is a great leader inside of our program. I think from year one to year two, that's one of the things that he's really been able to gravitate to and grab a hold of, is that leadership component. And everybody inside of our building, feels his energy and focus every single day. I know I'll get questions about NIL here at some point. Man, Hendon is all things good about NIL. You look at the scriptures book that he co-wrote, his impact on our community and the youth inside of our community. I think that's exactly what NIL should be, and so proud of what he's done. Safety that's with us, Trey Flowers, young man that's from Atlanta. So excited as we got on the plane today about coming home and being able to represent himself, his family, and our program. Fifth-year player that's made great strides in the offseason, physically changing his body, the focus that he's coming to the building every single day with, and another young man that's really grown on the leadership side of it. And then Cedric Tillman, who a year ago nobody had really heard of. Now he's regarded as one of the best at his position at wide receiver in the entire country. His work habits a year ago, parlayed into him playing the way that he did. And certainly as we look forward, expect great things from him. But I think it's a great story about college football. And as we embark on this part of the year, the work that guys have put in since January, giving themselves a chance to make that next step as a player when we get on the football field this fall. Really excited about his future here this year and in the future. For us looking ahead as we have prepared, since January in each quarter of our off season, one of the things that we've been stressing is the ability to finish, and that comes from a lot of different things. It comes from how you live your daily life, your ability to finish a rep inside of your strength and conditioning program. It comes in how you finish a semester academically, and I'm really proud of what we're doing. A year ago we had 4 or 5 games that we had an opportunity to win in the fourth quarter. We didn't end up on the right side of that. Finishing the right way is something that I think we've taken a great stride in here during our off season, but it's been very purposeful in who we are every single day. Our work habits had to greatly increase from a year ago. We talked about, as a football team, teams that hope, teams that believe, and then teams that expect. And teams that expect to win, they find a way to win because of the work that they've put in during the off season. That's been one of our focuses, and I'm really proud of the strides that our team has taken since last January. Excited about getting on the football field with them here in a week or so as we embark on training camp, and can't wait for fall to kick off. We get a chance to open up on Thursday night in front of the entire country, and looking forward to ball walk and running out the tee and getting ready to compete inside Neyland Stadium. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. If you can stand, we ask you to do so, and please speak directly into the mic with your name and affiliation, as it gets a little bit harder to hear right now. So we'll start right in front of us, Coach. Johnny.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media in Nashville and Huntsville. You enjoyed tremendous success as a player, finishing as the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. How has your success as a player helped you in your coaching career, especially as head coach with Tennessee?
Yeah, I think, for myself, embarking on the challenge that we did 18 months ago at Tennessee and rebuilding an iconic historic program, I was able to look back at my playing career, a program that hadn't been to a bowl game for 5 straight years before we got there. Obviously a great amount of success in my first 2 years there. What were the footprints, the strongholds that you had to have inside of your program to grow. I certainly look back on my playing career from a global view inside of the program, but also personally too, and in the route that I took to get there, the work habits that I had to have to become the player that I became. And one of the things that for our players that I talk about, and certainly like Cedric and Hendon this year, great numbers a year ago, and as they, put the challenge in front of themselves for year two, it's never going to be about the numbers. My numbers in year two as a player weren't near the numbers that I had in year one. However, we found ways to win football games, and it's going to be about winning football games. And so, those are things that I talk about inside the quarterback room, I talk about with our staff, but also things that I share with our entire program on a time-to-time basis.
Coach, we'll go over to our right side along the aisle. Vince.
Hey Josh, Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the sports animal. Obviously, it's about the team offensively, but now with Velus, Javonte, some of the guys that you lost at wide receiver from a year ago, what kind of extra attention do you expect Cedric Tillman to get from defenses this year, and what's been your experience counteracting a guy that's maybe a prime target at wide receiver?
Yeah, a year ago, who thought Ced was going to have the year that he had, or Velus was going to become a high draft pick like he became, or Javonte was going to have the impact that he had inside of our offense too. And that's the great thing about college football, is that a quarter of your roster is turning over every single year. A lot of great players leave, but with that there's great opportunity. Certainly Ced's going to get a ton of attention, and it's our role as offensive staff to put him in a position to create some isolations, create one-on-one still, and find a way to get him the football. But it's imperative for us offensively that the guys at the other positions step up and play at a championship level too. Really proud of Jalen Hyatt and the steps that he's made. I think there's great competition inside of our program at the slot position. And then on the outside, this training camp, there will be great competition as well. And we're going to need somebody to step forward, and really multiple guys to step forward at all those positions.
And that's Josh Heupel down in the main room as the pontification continues here at SEC Media Days. And look, if you're at SEC Media Days, we all know that really the star of SEC Media Days is Paul Feinbaum, right? I mean, he was the first one. I think that when it started, it was just Paul. And then everything just kind of circulates around Paul here. And now we have 34 radio stations and outlets and podcasters and everything else here. But we do have the one and only Paul Feinbaum on the set with us here as well. Paul, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing to remember. I was actually too young and too inexperienced to do what was the predecessor of this, and that was the Skyriders.
Skyriders, you never did Skyriders.
Never, and I'm thankful because I would have probably had too much to drink and never found my way to the plane.
Those guys were hammered by the time they got to the third or fourth school, right? So.
Yeah, I say this because I knew all those guys, but there was so much debauchery that went on, and finally one night it had to end because there was a fight that broke out in a hotel between a couple of riders. I mean, nobody remembered it the next day.
Right.
It would make a wonderful 30 for 30.
For me, it's 18 years. 2004 was my first one, but isn't it amazing? You were one of the first guys that was actually doing any kind of video back when you were doing your radio show, and everybody saw that and we were like, "Ooh, what is he doing? That's pretty cool. He's on the radio and on the TV or on the stream." And now you can't swing a dead cat around here without hitting a camera. Every single radio station, including us, now is streaming live video of all of this stuff. The technology has come so far. You got to get one of these young guys that understands all of this stuff. But it's amazing. We used to come with those big, huge boxes, and you had to have an ISDN line and all that crazy stuff.
We had, I'm trying to remember the year. We were the first. AL.com in Birmingham came up with this concept. And not only that, and then we eventually left them to go to a local television station. The television station put a live chat underneath it. Mm-hmm. And it got so vicious and so vulgar that they had to shut it down. It was breaking every FCC rule in the world. I was enjoying it, I will say that. But, it was I didn't realize how that was going to explode.
AL.com had to eliminate their comments section, basically, for all intents and purposes. And we actually did that at the radio station that I was at in 2005 in North Alabama, and put up one of those chat window things and took it down within a week because it got so vile. I mean, Auburn, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee. It was crazy. Paul Feinbaum with us here. Paul, the morning was kicked off with Brian Harsin, and he was very emboldened. I mean, he came out of that inquiry, with both guns a-blazing, which to me means that he's going to go down with both guns blazing if it happens, because 6-6, 7-5, he can talk all the bluster he wants. There'll be a coaching search going on there.
Sure. Listen, I was in that room that I went up to pack, and I watched it on television, which is really the most important thing that matters, because only a handful of us are here. And he came off very well. And anyone at home, don't misunderstand. I mean, that wasn't extemporaneous. That was crafted. That was rehearsed. And there was a specific method there. And what he basically showed is, I'm going to fight you guys to the end, and the end is going to be whatever his record is.
Right.
It's not going to matter what he said today. I personally feel that the people at Auburn ought to be embarrassed. I mean, what they tried to do to him was shameful. They hired him, and they're going to end up paying him. They came up with a phony charge, and everyone knows who came up with it. It was a big booster, or someone close to that big booster. There was never a foundation, and it was outrageous. And I applaud Harsin for being as angry as he was. I don't applaud him for blowing as many games as he did, though.
Yeah.
And if people say, what's the number? There isn't a number. It's really how the season develops. If he gets off to a fast start, he's got a chance. But let me just break it down this way. That program hasn't rallied around him because of he almost got fired. I mean, that's garbage.
Yeah.
What happened in February is not going to matter one bit. Now, remember 2004, Tuberville came off of a similar situation.
Yeah. Which one was uglier? I mean, Bobby Petrino on the plane, or this deal. Which one was worse? You covered them both.
That was much uglier because, Tuberville was on a winning streak against Alabama at the time. He had great players. And, that was just a coup. This was really one guy.
Right.
Remember, I saw Tuberville the other day, and he reminded me of this. You had the president of the university on the plane. You had the athletic director. Nobody knows who was there. There are no fingerprints on this one, although we can all make a pretty good guess, knock on wood. And that was much worse because they had already fired him. And he came back the next year. The program was really good. He just had a lousy season.
September 17th, I think, is the turning point. I think that Penn State game at home is, to me, that's the difference between an 8-win season and a 7-win season. And I don't know that he, survived 7. I want to touch on something else that you said, and I want to get into time machine and go back 15 years. You said that Nick Saban had a lot to do with your career explosion. Nick Saban had a lot to do with all of our career explosions that are here covering the SEC. Can you imagine an SEC, or tell me what an SEC without Nick Saban over the past 15 years looks like? How many national championships? Is it mixed up? What would it have been like without Nick Saban?
Well, I would immediately eliminate 6. So we start there. And I think.
Well, does somebody else win those in the SEC?
I don't think so, no. Because Rich Rodriguez was going to get the job. And Rich Rodriguez wouldn't have won a national championship, I can assure you.
Right.
The program would have had maybe a 10-win season, then a 7-win season, and then an 8-win season, and then he would have been fired. I can't tell you who would have been next because we're grasping at straws for that. But we would have had a couple of national championships. But how Saban affected me personally, though, was I was changing radio station, and you can relate to this. I was at an AM station in 06 following Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good. That's
good
the
lead-in.
you want to talk about SEC football. Talking about how bad Clinton and Obama were. That was not going to help my ratings.
Yeah.
So I moved to WJOX in Birmingham 2 weeks after Saban. They make the switch at the beginning of the year from AM to FM, and that was really the transformation in radio. You know that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting deep in the weeds here, but our men 25-54 numbers between the day I arrived and the following year were 4 times higher. And I would argue it had much more to do with Nick Saban than me.
Well, you had a lot to do with it as well.
I got credit for it.
You and your nutty callers.
And I'm happy about that.
You and your crazy callers had a lot to do with all of that stuff as well. Paul Feinbaum has been our guest. You hear him every afternoon right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, 2 to 5, and then again later on in the evening as well. Paul, I appreciate you. It's always great to see you.
It was my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Paul Feinbaum. And he'll be, of course, coming up a little bit later on here on our air. All right, I'll tell you what, let's go back downstairs. Let's see what's going on with Josh Heupel downstairs. We'll see if he's predicted any great things coming up this year. See what he's got.
Is going to be extremely critical to us, at all times. And I think that's one of the things that's unique about Knoxville is being able to get east, west, north, and south and touch so many great recruiting areas. And at the same time, we have a brand and a logo that's going to allow us, with the style of play and the culture that we have, to reach coast to coast as well. But certainly inside of this footprint, that's going to be important for us.
Josh Heupel downstairs still going on about the University of Tennessee. All right, let's get a break in here. When we come back, we'll set you up for the top of the hour when we'll be joined by Greg Sankey, the commissioner. We always get the commissioner right at the end of SEC Media Days, and I like it that way. And we'll see if we got any big news. It was a year ago today that we found out, not on this date. I don't know what the exact date was, but it was a year ago, last day, SEC Media Days, when the bombshell dropped that Oklahoma and Texas were coming to the SEC. So we'll prod Greg Sankey and ask him if he's got any news for us. We'll do that next. It's the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Paul just did that live, by the way, here. He was just sitting here when he said that. Welcome back. Thom Abraham Show. Grizz back in studio doing a tremendous job. I am so happy that we have had him there all week long, handling all the things for the morning show and for my show and everything else. Remember, he is our office manager, so he's doing all of this other work while he is doing this. But and Grizz, I know you have had some help. I mean, I know I said before that Bailey was running and getting you a drink and things like that. But I suppose he has done something else, right? I mean, he has helped you on some level. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've done a tremendous job, both of you, and, keeping it sounding good. And it was, I just want to say, we did have that technical glitch right at the beginning of the show. I could tell you that it was because it's storming here badly in Atlanta. Yeah, it was pouring. I thought there was something wrong with the feed from down there. I was like, what is all that static and everything? And it was pouring rain out there. But I do want to place blame where blame belongs. It was Captain Cool, who was not so cool, who disconnected the line here, it's happened 4 times now. I did it once. Wes did it once. Drew did it once. Now we're all clunky old guys, you know what I mean, that are going to screw this up. But then young Captain Cool did it, and I don't know what's up with that, man.
All I gotta say is I was trying to help. All right, I see this. I'm looking for an outlet to put a cord in. You told me to do it in the first place.
Power strip, they call it.
So I'm walking around. I see this. I see the power strip. All right. I see just one random cord hanging halfway out. So I'm like, I better push that in, because if it does it, in an inconvenient time, everybody's gonna go crazy.
Right.
We moved it out of to the side so nobody would touch it.
Right.
So I go.
It was under the table, Grizz. It was under the table, and we all kept kicking it. Me and so we would step out. So what Moulton did is he moved it and he put it in a bag off to the side of the table, feeling it was safe over there, except for it wasn't safe when Captain Cool got over there.
I just pushed it in. Yeah. I pushed it in. I didn't think it'd disconnect, but I saw a light in the side of my eye, and I was like, I did it.
You did it. Everything went off.
I did it.
Everything went off here. So I just want to place blame where blame needs to be placed. So now it's only up to Moulton. Scott's done, so he won't be going on the air anymore, so he can't disconnect us. So Moulton is the last one to have an opportunity to knock us off the air, Grizz. That's what's going on here.
Taking blame is cool.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. You heard? Oh, you did hear about that. Oh, don't even get me started on that.
That's another story.
That's a mystery. We don't know who did that. Nobody will admit to who put the dishwasher fluid in the dishwasher. That's right. I forgot you were on that. I'm sitting here trying to give everybody a big pat on the back, and the next thing you know, I'm hearing from Wes that he's cleaning up the floor at the house because the dishwasher overflowed, and somebody put that dish fluid in that dishwasher, and none of these guys, 6 guys here, we know it wasn't Wes, we know it wasn't me, we know it wasn't John because he overslept this morning. So that leaves it's either Moulton or Scott or Drew, but nobody will admit to it. So I'm not taking anything for that. We'll come back. Greg Sankey is next. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Oh, okay. Now I am. Got nervous there. I wasn't hearing anything. It's one of those little dead air moments. Mm-hmm. Huh? Do what? What has 3,000 views? Just get a freaking cup of water over again. Nothing. What video? Just tell me. Huh? What quarterback? Oh, I can't. But again, the views are meaningless if we don't have the subs. You guys are too hung up on views. Views are meaningless without subs. I don't know how many times I got to say that. Chad understands. All right, be cool. There he is, my fellow upstate New Yorker. That sounds good.
What time are we?
I'm sorry.
What time will you break after you come? So you come back at 11:02. What time?
Yeah, we're coming. They're playing the music right now.
No, but when do you come?
Oh,
when will you break again?
Well, whenever he has to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm,
Kind of hard something.
no. We only have top of the hour hard breaks. You get an outstanding guest, you got to stay on the air. You can't really just. Seems like I always have the commission on the last day. And welcome back. Closing day at SEC Media Day. So glad that you are with us today. And it's basically become a tradition now. I mean, I've been 18 years or so here at SEC Media Days, and I always get, whether it was Mike Slive or Greg Sankey, I always get the commissioner on the last day, which is good because then he can break news for us if he needs to, and he joins us now. Commissioner, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for being part of SEC Media Days yet again, this time in Atlanta. Very cool setting for us, and this is you got to be proud when you. I know you do all of these radio shows and everything else, but when you walk around here and you just hear the buzz and the noise and the constant conversation about this great super conference, as you called it on opening day, it's got to be something that makes you feel good. It is, and it is uncommon for conferences to move their football media days around. Our colleagues are in cities where they've been repeatedly, and we've traditionally been in the Birmingham area and Hoover. We moved here in 2018 with a vision that we'd move from time to time. COVID hit, disrupted things a bit. Our expectation, in fact, our desire is to be in Nashville next year. We're working towards that. Opportunity. We'll work to finalize and make a specific announcement. And as we grow to the west, we've explored opportunities in that direction in the future. We want to make sure that it's an accessible event, but like here, you want some kind of local feel. that just creates a unique aspect to what we do. And it's like in this building, you cannot escape college football. And what's pretty cool is you see pictures of people from like their playing days who are now speaking at the podium, or their earlier coaching days now speaking at the podium as members of the SEC coaching fraternity. And it's a fun experience to just walk around and take it all in.
We got a chuckle out of the fact that our table was set up next to the display that promotes the Oklahoma-Texas rivalry.
Yeah.
And we're like, how ironic is that? You know, here we're all about the Iron Bowl in our part of the country, and then there's Texas-Oklahoma, which we'll welcome in, I guess, 2025. You want to break the news now that we're going to Dallas in 2025? I mean, come on, let's be honest.
We're not quite there, but we'll see. That's you broke a thought.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure I'm the first one that thought of that. You mentioned Nashville possibility. Now, I was on in Nashville for 8 years, and you know there's the convention center and there's Opryland. Is one of those are they both in the mix, or is one of those that definitely won't be at the Opryland or at the convention center?
No, we're looking more downtown. Probably not the convention center.
Oh, really?
Some of the new facilities, hotels, and living spaces and open spaces have been created. We're trying to be creative, and that's still the work to be done to see if it can happen. But you look at what the NFL did down on Broadway.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that scope or scale, but we're exploring venues. It'll be
That's cool.
interesting. And I think downtown, because we've got a lot of experience there with our men's basketball tournament, our women's basketball tournaments, provides us some opportunities.
Yeah, okay, that's good. The baseball meetings were at Opryland a few years ago, and that's why I wondered about that. That place is massive as well.
It is.
The commissioner,
you got to leave breadcrumb trail to find your way back to your
you
room.
do. I mean, it's almost too big. Greg Tanke with us here. It was last year on this day, not this particular date, but it was the last day when word came out that Texas and Oklahoma would join the SEC, and that was kind of stunning. Pull the curtain back, though, for us a little bit on that, on two aspects. One, do these people, the SEC's not running around looking for members, right? Do these people reach out to you guys, to the SEC, and say, hey, we're interested? And then the follow-up to that is USC, UCLA. How much communication were you like the rest of us? Were you surprised, or did you know that was coming based on your communication with other commissioners?
Well, there's a few elements to that question. One is, specific to Texas and Oklahoma, they really said, look, we're evaluating our future. We've watched how your conference has functioned, how it's made decisions, how you've led, and your commitment to high-level college athletics, and we're interested in finding out if we could be a part of that. And that's really the start. And then it accelerated quickly at meeting days.
I guess so.
I have had either directly or indirectly, some to our staff, some to our campuses, some to third parties. Others express interest. We're at 16. We think it's the right 16, so there's not any pressure or urgency or panic that we just need to move. On the last part, the USC UCLA news when it happened, that was breaking news to me as well. We had just conversations looking as we think strategically about what could happen out there in the world, and never predicting that things would. But you play the hypothetical what if game from time to time, and the fact that it happened wasn't like a total shock to me. Because you keep your ear to the ground a little bit, but certainly the timing, and then when it did happen, that was breaking news on the bottom of my SEC network scroll like everybody else.
I love what you said about the growth of the SEC into contiguous states. With Texas and Oklahoma, it kind of continues in the footprint, and restoring rivalries. You mentioned restoring rivalries, which is phenomenal. There are other contiguous states, obviously, around. The SEC doesn't need to go coast to coast. I look at the Big Ten, it's 2,300 miles from Newark to Los Angeles. But the SEC doesn't need to do that, whether you want to expand or not, it seems like. And it seems like you're still beholden to a little bit of a regional feel.
Well, if we added contiguous states, that could be from New Mexico to North Carolina, Illinois, Indiana. I mean, it's a wide footprint. Yeah. And so I really start from cultural fit, philosophical support, or philosophical consistency and support of athletics programs. And there's also economics involved,
right,
and there's marketplace issues involved in that decision. We don't feel just the sense of urgency to go to a number. And I think that's wise. We are going to watch what happens, and we're not going to be inactive in thinking about what happens. But we're not out recruiting. To one of your earlier questions, we haven't been out recruiting, and really what I talked about in 2015 when I was hired was we want to operate with a level of excellence, and hopefully that's been reflected here this week. And if you operate consistently with a level of excellence in your day-to-day work as an organization, you then have the ability to attract people because excellence is attractive. People want to be a part of something special, and that's really our attitude on our approach. We're not out on the recruiting trail. We're not making phone calls. We may receive them, but I think that's a compliment to who we are and what we do.
You used another great word. You said nimble. Like that word, nimble, which does keep, it does kind of throw that out there that you understand growth. And this is a league. This isn't like the first time this has happened. We saw this going all the way back to when South Carolina and Arkansas came in and so on. So this is stuff that's happened before. Do you ever think back? Mike Slive was a great commissioner, and he did a tremendous job, and you have picked up and just continued that great legacy. Do you ever find yourself when you're sitting at Skinny Atlas Lake, which you spelled perfectly, and think about, I wonder what Mike would think about this. I wonder what Mike would do here. Does that ever cross your mind in terms of formulating how you're going to react?
No, because, there's a few layers there. One, have I thought about that? Yes. And I also have the advantage I can pick up the phone when I wonder that about Roy Kramer. Since he was the 6th commissioner before Mike, I'll pick up the phone and say, Roy, what do you think? But I have to make my own decisions. And so the circumstances have changed greatly, just greatly since I took over in 2015. And if you go back 21 years when Mike took over, we didn't have a network. We actually paid for parts of our TV production. As you look forward, we're transitioning away from CBS towards Disney, ABC, ESPN. We have digital media that's present. We have legalized sports gambling. We have name, image, and likeness. We have an accelerated decision-making timeline. We're going to 16 teams. It's just a very different circumstance. So, through COVID, I was like, I wonder how he would have handled this. But that didn't guide my decision-making because you had to deal with the reality that's in front of us at that point or at this point or moving forward.
I want to clear one other thing up, too, because I've said this ever since last SEC Media Days when the idea that we were going to see an expanded playoff and it was just basically going to be rubber stamped in September. Everybody thought that was going to happen. There were so many people, so many national pundits that said things like, Greg Sankey's plan to expand to 12. Gotcha. Greg Sankey wanted to do. And I kept trying to tell people, I'm pretty sure that Greg Sankey said last year, I'm good with 4. I'm getting 1. Sometimes I get 2. I don't need this. You people want this. So we're going to come up with a plan that has inclusion. Am I right or wrong on it? That this isn't like you're running around trying to expand a playoff.
You should just replay that loop over and over because I've communicated that consistently to any number of people. And if you look back, and you can go find this in the media because I have a folder full of these articles and quotes where commissioners and presidents in other conferences repeatedly called for expansion of the college football playoff with often as soon as possible included, not waiting until the end of the current contracts, over and over and over. And I should add, athletics directors did as well. But we didn't. That wasn't coming from our league. It wasn't coming from our presidents, nor our athletics directors, nor myself. But as the world around you creates this demand and expectation, and you're sitting out there as the outlier, you also have a responsibility to contribute to the conversation, which I did, unapologetically. And we came to some structure and some compromise that I thought really worked well for a lot of different reasons. And I have colleagues who didn't feel that way. They were relatively new to the role, but they felt, no, we're not going to expand. That's fine. We're now back to square one. And circumstances have changed, views have changed. But I've said, even in the aftermath of expansion, we'll stay at 4. Because with the additions we're making, we're not going to have any less access to the college football playoff. That's reality. We're not going to have less access at 16 if we stay at 4. So we can stay at 4, and we have great bowl lineups, and we'll add to that great bowl lineup in the future. And so I'm pretty comfortable with our reality, and I'll be interested to see how the conversation goes from here forward.
Guys back in the studio, clip that up, and we're going to play that once a week for the next 12 months.
Oh, I think you nailed it. Forget my answer.
How about a Cortland guy and a Fisher guy, St. John Fisher guy, sitting in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame, talking about the greatest conference in the country. Who would have thunk that could happen?
Yeah, people are wondering about these guys with accents.
People don't know where Cortland or Fisher is, but they know.
Right.
But we know, so that's great. All right, I appreciate you as always. Great to talk to you again.
Thanks for being here.
All right, that is the commissioner, Greg Sankey, and he just does such a great job. I didn't know what we were going to do after Slive. I really didn't. And then this guy comes along and he just take it to another level. He has just done such a fantastic job with all of this. All right, so let's get a break in here, and then we'll figure out where we're going from here. Now, we know that we have Vince Ferrara coming up at the top of the 12 o'clock hour. How about that, coming right out of the gate with Paul Feinbaum and Greg Sankey? And I'm glad, Grizz, you've heard me say it, right? I have said it time and time again because they get it wrong. The national media, even some in our own league, get it wrong. They always think like Greg Sankey's plan fell apart to expand the playoffs. It was not his plan. He said right from the beginning, I'm fine with 4. I'll get 1 or 2. Who knows? Someday they might get 3 out of 4 when Texas and Oklahoma are here, right? That's what we've been saying, and he just said it again. And you know what's really cool, too? I'm watching the commissioner, and he's walking around here, and he just stopped at one of the displays here at the College Football Hall of Fame. He just stopped at, was that taking a picture of this one, too? He just stopped at one of the displays and took a picture. The 150-year football, the 150-year anniversary football. He stopped at that and took a picture. And right here at our location, I think you've seen it, and folks that are listening have seen it a number of times in the background of pictures. We're in front of this Oklahoma-Texas display, memorable matchups, and it tells everything like that. And he took a picture of this. He's like a fan. He's like one of us. I mean, here he is, the commissioner, the most powerful. Look. Is there any doubt that Greg Sankey is the most powerful man in college football, other than Nick Saban? All right, but that's a different kind of powerful guy. I think that Greg Sankey is the most powerful man in all of college football. If they decide to break away college football, to break away from the NCAA and have their own commissioner and have, 3 leagues that have 20 teams each or whatever the scenario is, Greg Sankey is going to be the guy that they want to lead the way. He would be the grand poobah of college football. And he's walking around here, Grizz, taking pictures of displays and things like that here at the Hall of Fame. That's how cool that is. Greg Sankey is Ricky Bobby. I'm gonna say you got to be if you ain't first or last. Greg Sankey. That has got to be a first in the history of Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey as Ricky Bobby. Only in Alabama is Greg. It is fantastic. Wait a minute. If he's Ricky Bobby, then who's Ricky Bobby's sidekick? Who's that guy? Who's Cal Naughton? Nick Saban is Cal Naughton. Greg Sankey is Ricky Bobby. There you go. And then the commissioner of the Big Ten would be that guy, that French guy, right, that tries to come in and race against them. Right, that would be like the Warren. Right? He would be the Jean whatever his name, Jean-Claude. He would be that would be Mike Warren, Jean Girard. Yeah, Jean Girard. That would be Mike Warren as Jean Girard, and Greg Sankey is Ricky Bobby. Only in Alabama would somebody say Greg Sankey is like Ricky Bobby. All right, let's get a break. I'm going to regroup here and figure out what I got. I think I got Harsin from the electronic room. Maybe not. I don't know. I might have Heupel from the electronic room. Maybe not. I don't know because I don't see Scott, and he was the one that's been getting all of that stuff. And I don't know what happened to Scott. So we're going to find out what we got next, and we'll have it for you right here on the Thom Abraham Show from SEC Media Days on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And welcome back to Thom Abraham Show. Today brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford. And I got to be totally honest with you, the Woody Anderson Ford F-150 is packed, loaded, and ready and pointed northwest. North first, Chattanooga first, and then up. Hey, by the way, Grizz, you lived in this area for a while, right? I don't know if you knew this. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this or not. Did you know that cars up here do not have blinker lights, don't have signal lights? I didn't know that was a fact, but it is apparently, because I've been going back and forth to the house, and people here just kind of move. There is no light. Yeah, I have not seen the only. In fact, I thought they had no flashers except for it was raining this morning, and it was this little lady with her four-way flashers going down 75 south, and it was like a rolling roadblock. She had everybody. She was going 30 miles an hour because it was raining, and she had everybody backed up. But people just cut in and out and left and right, and they don't care. You get to even at a stoplight where you're going to make a left-hand turn, nobody even puts their blinker on. I don't think blinkers are not. I don't think they're optional here in Atlanta. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's yeah. Dumb and Dumber. It is just absolutely crazy. All right, who's not Dumb and Dumber is Brian Harsin, Auburn football coach. Now, you heard him earlier live during the drive. Now you're going to hear him in the electronic media room, which is a little bit of a different setting. It's a little more casual. It's all question and answer. This was Brian Harsin a few moments ago in the electronic media room. Take a listen.
And he is ready for questions. We'll go on the aisle here in the third row on the right.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. All right.
Good morning, Brian. Me?
Yes.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Jeff Spiegel, ABC 3340 in Birmingham. Considering the off-season inquiry and everything that you and your family were subjected to, how much more difficult is this job than maybe you originally thought? And how has this strengthened yours and the team's resolve?
Well, I mentioned this earlier. Matter of fact, just recently, coming out of the other press conference that we had there. Yeah, and I'll go back and just say it again. You know, we talked about those things at that time, and also talked about moving forward. And everything that we do, when we talk about the past, is just not helping our present and our future. And so, you know, the focus right now is just on this team. And I would say the players and the coaches, they moved on very quickly, because we all know we have work to do, and we're trying to build something with this football program at Auburn that's hopefully special. And right now, I think with where our team is at and where our coaches are at, you feel that. And so that's really been the entire focus. I think it's made our team stronger. It's made our staff stronger. You feel that conviction in the building for wanting to be there and to prove yourself each and every day, which is, you know, what our 1-0 really stands for, is just that improvement, that getting better, and starting over again. So to me, everything in our program right now is just about making progress each and every day. And I think that's the most important thing that we can teach our young players is just how to do that. That's really when we all feel most fulfilled and rewarded at the end of the day, is when we made some sort of progress. And I want every one of our players and coaches to feel fulfilled and rewarded at the end of each and every day, because we've made some sort of progress throughout the day. I mean, that's not just football, that's life. And you know what I've learned over time, when people are happy and they're making progress, you know what, it's fun, and we work a whole lot better, and we get a lot more done, and we're a lot more productive. So I feel that with our team. I felt that coming over with Tank Bigsby and John Samuel Shanker, Derek Hall, like just sitting in that plane and flying over here together. Those guys, there's a great vibe. Like they're fun to be around. It's enjoyable, and we feel really good about the things that we've done leading up to this point, and we're excited about fall camp.
Left side, fourth row.
Good morning, Coach. Jacob Goins, ESPN 1067 in Auburn. When you took over as the head coach here at Auburn, and even here in year 2, what are some of the major changes that you made within the program from the previous coaching regime to when you took over?
Oh, I don't know about the previous. There was nothing, it really wasn't about coming in and having a bunch of comparisons. It was just about what we had to do to get ourselves in a position to establish our program's expectations and then, some of the values that we hold in our program. And really, that's what it comes back to every day, right? We talk about winning an SEC championship and doing it with class. Well, what's class? Doing it with integrity. What's integrity? Doing it with academic excellence. Well, what's academic excellence? All right, and then going back and then taking that to the values. All right, that's our goal. What are our values? Well, character, discipline, all right, toughness, grit, conviction, those type of things. And trying to help our players and our coaches and everybody in that program understand what those things are. I mean, to me, that is the development piece that we're no longer talking about very much any longer. All right, we got 18 to 22-year-olds. We are trying to help them develop for the long game. It's the immediate success that we all want to have because, you know what, we want to win. And we want to make advancements each and every day. We want to make progress each and every day. But there's also the 30-year-old version of that player that no one talks about. And that was really important to me. When I got into coaching, that was very clear to me what the responsibility of the head coach was for the guys I worked for is developing those players so that they could be successful way beyond our program. And some of that's lost right now. And right now, I mean, I think every single day in our program is like professional development. You all pay money to bring people in to have somebody come talk to you, to share the same things that we talk about every single day. And I think our players are understanding that now. Every day is like professional development. So when you leave Auburn and you're done playing football at some point in your career, you can still go on and be successful. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm a big believer in it. And that's something that, we're trying to establish every single day. So every one of those things that we talked about, we have to go back and reevaluate where we are, what we're doing, how we're doing it. Maybe there's a better way that someone else is doing. Well, let's go take that. Let's go steal that and let's apply it to our program. If they're doing it better, let's go figure out how we can make it in our program better by using their plan. And, that's something that I think is extremely, extremely important. And so it's the immediate right now, but as a head football coach, you're thinking about how much further this guy's going to be in one more year. And you see it on our team. I talked about it earlier. Just the advancement guys are making in their own individual efforts to just be better every single day. That's the best thing that we can give anybody is that kind of development and process so that they have that for the rest of their lives. And to me, that's what we're trying to do. We're dealing with all these other things that try to distract us from that. But that's not what you, me, or any one of us, especially as you get older, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is, do I have a plan? Do I have a process? Am I able to better myself each and every day? That's what everybody wants. And you either decide you want it at 18 or at 40, but it's somewhere everybody has that aha moment like, I need this. And we're just trying to get it done a lot sooner than most.
Right side, fourth row.
Michael Giddens, War Report, Auburn. Coach, Derek Mason ran a lot of zone concepts on defense last year. With Jeff Schmedding taking over, what is this year's defensive identity going to look like? And second part, Vegas set the over-under for Auburn at 5.5 games initially, speculating that you are going to be an underdog to a lot of teams that you beat last year. What is the feeling internally about that and the message to the team?
Well, first thing, so as far as schemes, and thank you for actually asking me a football question. All right, I do appreciate that. I just got done yesterday talking to some of the high school coaches in Alabama and got a chance to talk football and absolutely loved it. So scheme-wise, yeah, I mean, it really comes down to personnel. We'll play more man coverage. There'll be more man, and we did last year too. It wasn't zone. We did those things. Coach Mason does a great job on the defensive side, and we did those things. and a lot of it comes back to your personnel, how well we did it. All right, you got to go back and improve in some of those areas. But Coach Smeding, whatever he has planned for our defense, it'll be a combination of all those things. And I know that. And like I said before, Coach Smeding is a guy that I don't worry about Coach Smeding. He cares more about what he's doing than I do. I mean, he is on it, and he will have that defense prepared and ready for what our personnel is and then what we have to do schematically to help us win that football game. Here's what I know, all right, as far as the records or whatever, all right? That doesn't come from our coaching, our peers. It doesn't come from the other coaches that we play. It doesn't come from the other teams that we play. And it comes from speculation, really from the media. And we don't play the media, all right? We don't. And so nobody's been in our walls and has seen what our guys are doing on a day-to-day basis. Nobody's been there at 6 a.m. watching those guys run decks on Friday morning. And so you have no idea. I do. I get to see them every day. I get a progress report on every one of our players every single day. I know where they are. And as far as I'm concerned, like, none of that matters. It doesn't matter. We're going to prepare ourselves to go play on Saturday. And we're going to try to be the best football team every Saturday when we step on the football field. That's what matters. Now, how you do that, that's what matters most to me. All right? How we do it from Sunday through Friday. And that's what our guys are learning. Sunday through Friday is really important for Saturday. And I've been in programs where Sunday through Friday are not that important, but Saturday is. And that's a mistake. So that's where our focus is at right now. I don't control what everybody says. And if someone said we're going to win every game, well, you know, who? And does that mean we're going to? Absolutely not. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to make progress. We're going to keep getting better. And the attitude and the mentality of this football team needs to stay what it is right now. Each and every day, whether we win or lose, all right, we got to have a certain way of handling that. And I think handling success is equally as important as handling failure. And so those are things that we're working on. It goes right back to the core of our program, the values and the things we're trying to teach these guys. And the byproduct is going to be winning football games.
Last two questions. First is right here on the front, and then we're going to go third row, second on the end.
Good morning, Coach. AP Stedham, WGP, Florida,
Yes.
Alabama.
How are you?
I'm doing good, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yes, absolutely. Coach, what are some of the things you want to see from your starting quarterback? And are you a coach that doesn't mind playing a couple quarterbacks to be successful?
Yeah. No, I have no problem playing a couple quarterbacks. You know, we've done that in the past, and we've won championships doing that. So it's like any other position, right? One of the things about I really believe about football is if you deserve to play, we're going to find you a role, and that can also include the quarterback. And so if you got another guy that deserves to play, there could be an opportunity for him, and it's different by every game, and it's different by plan, but there will be an opportunity for him. What do we look for? We look for toughness. All right, and I've said this a lot of years, and this goes back. I played the position, I studied the position, and spent a lot of time, 10 years just going through, all right, talking to all these quarterback coaches, gurus, people, studying, watching, and just diving into, all right, what is it about quarterbacks that I think makes them successful? And the number one thing is toughness. And that's physically and mentally. You know, you're going to take a hit from a corner that nobody blocked, and you got to get up and get up fast, all right, because everybody's watching you. Mentally, you get way too much credit and way too much blame. All right, you got to be a guy, so that's one, toughness, preparation. If you don't prepare and listen to every story of every quarterback that's been the most successful, all they talk about is preparation, preparation, preparation. If you don't prepare, you're not going to be elite. All right, decision making. Well, if you don't make great decisions, you're not going to be on the field. So you're out there making a decision for the entire football team, not just the offense, not just for you, not just on that play, but everybody in that program, you're making decisions every time that ball is in your hands. And then the last one is accuracy. And we spend a ton of time on just the footwork piece, on placing that ball. You know, if you want that ball on the outside number on a 12-yard out, and you want it on his outside number in stride, not inside, perfectly thrown, that can happen. But it takes a lot of work to do that. Your feet, your arm strength, all right, your eyes, all right, everything mechanically has got to be dialed in order to make that throw. And you're dealing with all the factors in front of you. So, and then the last piece that comes with that is leadership. You know, but you got to do the first four. You're not going to be a great leader at that position if you can't do the first four. So those are things that I've always had, for our quarterbacks. Those are things that go back to Kellen Moore. And I remember the first day I put it up on the wall in my office, and Kellen Moore's looking at it, and he's kind of smirking. And I got it back from the sign shop. I didn't even see it, but preparation was spelled wrong. So I ended up ripping it off the wall. I was so mad. I was so proud of this that I came up with this, and I ended up ripping it off the wall, and they were kind of laughing. But then I put it back up there, and Brett Rippon the other day sent me a picture of Russell Wilson's, and a lot of them are the same. And so those are things that I believe for that position we have to be successful. Our guys know that. Quarterbacks, they're very aware of it, and those guys are, I think, displaying a lot of those things. The toughness, we're going to find out who that starter is. Eventually, we'll find out what that looks like when we go out there and play, but I think it's those qualities.
Final question, third row.
Lyndon Blake, WBRC. Coach, the players have mentioned how bonded they are and how that's grown this offseason. What have you done outside the complex, off the field, to build that chemistry?
Oh, we've done a few things. You guys saw the paintball event that we did. It was a good idea until it was the coaches versus the players, and then it became a bad idea, especially in the last game. So they all ganged up on us. But it was awesome. We had a great time. We also, we've been doing things. We've had these culture groups since I've been there, and I've done this back at Boise. So we have these unity groups, and we have these small culture groups. All right, about 17 of them, and every coach has about 5 to 6 guys. We're having players over to our houses for dinner. We're having those type of events. We brought a group in called the Program, which is a military group, and at the beginning, I don't know how excited the players were, but you're doing calisthenics, you're doing jumping jacks, you're doing things together, push-ups, but you got to do it perfectly, in perfect order, all together. And one person is leading, but you really find out that everybody is. And so how they teach and what they do is amazing. And our military is the best at these things, and that's why you bring them in to teach, all right, how do you build this cohesiveness with the team? The next morning at 5 a.m., we're in the water with sweatshirts on, swimming. Some guys can't swim, some guys can, so you're helping each other, right? And some guys, feel very scared, but you've got all these people around you to take care of you. So, and we had speakers come in. We're going to do more events as fall camp hits because, at times in fall camp it gets boring, so you got to keep everybody's attention. But it's things like that. But ultimately what I would say is the players have made a decision. I think the new players that we brought in have made a huge impact. I think our staff, because they know how important that is to me and how they've emphasized that, has been a big part of why our team feels much tighter than what it was. And I think that negativity is gone. I really do. I just think, one of the most sacred places that you can ever be is in the locker room. And sometimes, what I tell people all the time, we all have issues, we all have bad days, but once you verbalize that, everybody gets to experience it. So maybe it's just you, and maybe it's something you really need to take back before you blurt it out of your mouth. Is this something we can't overcome? Is this something that really needs to be said? Does it have to be negative? And I think, there's some people that were just naturally negative, and we don't have many of those guys any longer that are that way. We have guys that when there's a challenge, just figure it out rather than, complain and point the finger at whoever, made that happen. So it's really a maturity of our team, the leadership of our team, some of the events that we've done, but ultimately it goes back to the players in that locker room. They've decided that this is who we're going to be. And when they decided that, it became a player-driven team. And now as coaches, just give them a good plan, don't spoil the talent, and let those guys go out there and prepare themselves for when we step into that arena and get a chance to play.
Thank you, Coach. Good job.
Okay, thank you.
That was Brian Harsin. I'll tell you what, it's tough not to like that guy. I'm just going to say this. It is tough not to like the guy. We'll see how there are a lot of coaches, though, that are very good at coach speak. So we will see how that works out, going forward for him. And whether, because as Paul Feinbaum said right here, it's all going to come down to the record. Are the guys really going to respond? Are they really rallying around him because of the inquiry and the failed thing? We'll see. He says the right thing. They hit the paintball thing. They brought in the program. But we'll see how because at the end of the day, they're still outside the top 50 in recruiting. I mean, he still doesn't have a class. for next year. I mean, he had a terrible recruiting class last year, and now he doesn't have a class coming in for the next year. He's having a hard time recruiting. And, there's that old thing about, you ain't even around these parts, are you? Look, I heard it for years. I've lived in the South longer than I lived in the North. I came south the first time in 1980, right after I got married. Hey, from around these parts, are you? I came back in 2000. Hey, from around these parts. You know, last 6 months here. It's tough, but it's even tougher, I think, for a football coach in that case. Coming up at the top of the hour, Auburn tight end John Samuel Schenker will join us. And that's going to be interesting on a number of different levels. He is a Georgia kid. He is quickly risen up the list of where, Auburn tight ends stand in terms of being an all-time tight end at Auburn. We'll see how it works out for him with this upcoming season. But it also says in his bio that he enjoys fishing. It's fishing. So, that's going to be interesting. We'll have to ask him about that. Maybe he listens to Bassmaster Radio. Don't know. Vince Ferrara is scheduled up in the next hour as well to join us. We'll get his thoughts on Tennessee and Josh Heupel and his comments. And if we can get Josh Heupel out of the media room, we'll have that for you. And we'll have Jimbo Fisher at the bottom of the next hour live from the main room. And we'll hear what Jimbo has to say. It's all coming up right here on the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Yeah, welcome back. Thom Abraham Show here. SEC Media Days final go-round. Auburn in the house. You just heard from Brian Harsin. And how about John Samuel Schenkner? He is an outstanding tight end. And he's going to end up breaking all the records for tight ends, and he was captain a couple of times. I don't even care about all of that stuff. He's a fisherman.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
I'm fantastic. Also, baseball player, very good baseball player. How hard was it for you watching those dudes go off to Omaha and say, man, I could have been in Omaha with my guys?
Man, I wanted a ticket on that plane to Omaha, that's for sure.
They could have taken you, anyway, because you'd look good coming off the plane. You know what I mean?
Scare factor, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch. Get to watch them throughout the entire season. They had a lot of transfers and things like that, kind of like football. Right. And to see what they did was really, really special.
When do you have to make that? When did you make that decision that, you know what, I got to just focus on football? Because you can go to NFL and football. I don't know. You're a good baseball player. I don't know. That's a little tougher track, riding them buses around for 2 or 3 years in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I decided last November. I knew that I didn't want to wait any longer because that would have been unfair to baseball. And
right.
I didn't want to, put them in a bad spot. But they already had Sonny DeShera, so
Big Sonny D.
We were good. So I went ahead and decided because I knew that it was best for me to choose one, and I feel like I chose the right one.
When that kid showed up, were you like, what's with the fat kid?
Well, I knew he was.
Oh, you know, yeah, because he had a good reputation and everything. And the funny thing is, when I watched him play, he reminded me of that kid in Little League that's like bigger than everybody else. He just goes up there and just hammers the ball. You know what I mean? He's just knocking it all over the place.
Yeah, because we played him before he got there. He was at Sanford, and we played Sanford. So we all always knew about him. And when he got there, I was like, I'm sure he's a good player. I didn't know he's that good, obviously. But now he's taken off. He just got drafted, so it's exciting.
So, bass fisherman, huh?
Yes. Grew up on a farm in southwest Georgia. My dad's a dog trainer.
Yeah.
And so we had a few ponds out there.
Right.
That was it. Me, my brother, and my dad, that was our afternoons were filled with bass fishing on the ponds. And so I grew up loving it and continue to do so. The tight end room we all believe we're the best. So it's a big challenge in the tight end room. Who's the best
bass fishing? Because I heard you guys had a paintball deal with the coaches, right?
Yep.
You know, and I coached for 11 years, and we used to do I know this was in the Finger Lakes, upstate New York. We did a bass fishing tournament. We did because all the coaches fished, and we would tell the team, we'd say, all right, get the best 6 of you that can fish, and you guys go out and do. So that would be kind of cool to have a bass fishing tournament.
I might need to talk to Coach Harsin about that one.
Tell him about that one. But he might not know from a bass from a salmon. You know what I mean? He ain't from around these parts. You know what I'm saying?
He might not be on the team, but he could organize. I think the guys would love that.
Yeah, he could probably organize it. So a bass boat? You know, are you just a pond fisherman, or does the old man got a bass boat? Do you have it? First thing he said, by the way, guys, before we came out of the air, when I told him I'm the national host of Bassmaster Radio, 130 radio stations across the country, and first thing he says, "You got to give me some NIL deals."
Why not? Give me a few rods and reels.
I got rod and reel sponsors. I can get that done. we probably could help you out right there. That would be outstanding. But do you guys have a boat?
Grew up, we didn't have one, but now my dad, he got a new job in Alabama doing the same thing, and the owner has a few Bassmasters. And so we go out there a little bit. It's like 400-acre pond, if you call it a pond.
That's 400 acres becomes a small lake. Yeah, at that point it is a small lake. There's no doubt about it. And I talked to a lot of the Auburn guys because Auburn has one of the best bass fishing teams in the country. I mean, you know that they're outstanding. The way they go. By the way, that's my boat right there. I'm showing him that.
That's nice.
That's my rig. Right.
Wow.
It's all wrapped and everything.
Yeah,
it's got my logo on there and all that good stuff. But Auburn is. I mean, they're really good at that.
They're incredible. They had
you go from fishing or from baseball and football to fishing and football.
They had one or two guys that won one of the Bassmasters.
$1 million.
$1 million. I'm like, man, I picked the wrong sport.
I'll tell you what, Smith and Logan Parks. Logan Parks, he's your age. He's like a senior or something. And I can't remember Smith. Not Chad Smith. Something Smith. Yeah, they won the National U.S. Open and won $1 million. And they each got $1 million. a Toyota truck and a boat. The truck and boat's $100,000.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely nuts that those guys got.
Yeah.
Nobody came around asking them about an NIL.
Yeah. What?
And it won $1 million.
Unreal. That was awesome to see. That was a big deal in Auburn.
Yeah.
When they did that. That was really cool.
They have a great team. I mean, they were really, really fantastic. So you were the captain last year for the Penn State game. How does that work? First of all, do you guys have like set captains for the year? Is every single game? Because I know twice you were captain, the Houston game and the Auburn or in the Penn State game. How do you guys do it?
Well, the players vote on 2 all-time captains.
Right.
So that was Owen Papo and Chandler Wooten last year.
Yeah.
And then every game, because they go out for the coin toss, and every game we have nominated 2 honorary captains.
Right.
And those are picked by coaches, if I'm guessing.
Right.
And so every game they get 2. And so I got picked for Penn State and then for the Houston game.
Pretty well. You're going to be you're going to be one of the permanent captains this year, you think?
We'll see. When
do they do it? Do they do it after camp or do they do it at the beginning?
Right before camp. I think we do it. We'll vote on it next week, I think. And
Yeah.
then when camp comes around, we'll have an answer on who it is.
Auburn tight end John Samuel Schenker with us. Is that something you'd like to do? I mean, do you like that leadership role, being a captain?
What an honor, right? I mean, to be a leader on a team like Auburn, that's a place I grew up going, and to be able to have that title would be such a blessing, to be able to do that. But there's a lot of great ones right now. I mean, I think that's a testament to a good team. We have a lot of old guys that are really amazing leaders.
I have, as I said, you were the captain for the Penn State game last year. I think that's like the key game. I know you're just thinking about the first game. You always think about the first. I get that, but we talk about it all. And you open up with those 5 straight home games. That Penn State game is the key game because that changes the whole mindset. You guys get over on Penn State. Now, all of a sudden, you got an opportunity to get off to a really quick start before you get to that tough back end of the schedule. I would imagine whether you're an all-time captain or not, USA, I want to be captain of that one again. I got to get that one back.
That's a big one for us, especially after last year. We want that one bad.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, that is a humongous game.
Yeah.
I think for both teams.
But
for us, if we can get that one. But the thing is, you get past that one, it's SEC. And then you sleep on Missouri, they're going to beat you.
Yeah.
And you sleep on LSU, they're going to beat you. There's no telling what Brian Kelly's got going on over there.
Right.
So, I mean, they're all big, but yes, I agree. I think Penn State can swing a lot of things your way or not your way if you allow it.
What do you think about that quarterback room? I mean, you got a number of guys that can emerge. I mean, you look at them, and of course, TJ had the experience last year, and then you bring in a kid like Zach, who we didn't see in the spring. But what's your thoughts about that room and how they're going to emerge?
It's going to be a fun fall camp. I'll say that. They've done a great job so far in this summer. I mean, we haven't allowed it to split the team, and that's something that I think a lot of guys were worried about, is if that would bring issues to the team. And so we made sure that didn't happen. And so that's been a huge plus for us. It's just we understand that you're in a battle, but so is every other guy on the team for a spot, right?
Right.
And so it is a massive position, and I think they understand that, but nothing can be decided till fall camp anyway, so there's no reason to create issues before fall camp even begins.
You obviously came in with Coach Malzahn, and then Brian Harsin comes in, and that's a kind of a culture shock for him, and I would imagine for you guys to a certain extent. Then you go through all of the garbage in the offseason, inquiry, and I'm sure you guys were like the rest of us, like, is this guy going to be our coach or what, He says that the result of all of that was it's kind of galvanized the team, that you guys are in a bunker mentality, if you will. Talk about that from the sense of the players. I mean, did you just don't worry about it? Or is it something you feel like, you know what, they came after our guy, and now we're ready to rally around him?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And when it happened, we're all kind of shocked. Like, what is really going on here? This is kind of crazy. And when we got to the bottom of it, a few of us got together and were like, we're gonna do our very best to make sure he stays for the betterment of us and for Auburn. Mm-hmm. And we just believed in what he was doing, and we just didn't think it was fair. We knew the character of our coach and knew what he was about, and that wasn't it.
Right.
And so we did our very best to back him, whether it was social media or meetings with certain people. And when he finally was relieved and we were able to keep him there, it brought us so much closer.
Yeah.
And I think that's when everything flipped for us. And then we went right into spring ball and then straight back in the summer. And this summer's been unbelievable. We've been so on key and everything, and everyone's just having fun. Like, we're enjoying ball. And when you can enjoy ball, some good things can happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. NIL. So what do you got? You got anything going on or what? Who we want to do? Do you want to give anybody some love? I mean, I mean,
Abu Garcia would be nice.
Oh no, Rapala is one of my spots. Oh, no, my Rapala on there. I got Rapala and Phoenix and Enigma rods and reels and stuff like that. But what have you? Do you got like a guy that's handling that for you, or do you have any NIL deals? Because you're one of the top players. I mean, we heard that there were. I forget which team, but with 95 players on one of the teams had some sort of NIL. You got something going on?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of local restaurants and things. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a Fuzzy's Taco Shop. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And so I got one with them.
Yeah.
I have some clothing.
And more than just tacos, though, right? I mean, it's not just they're just feeding you.
Mexican.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's like Mexican.
Yeah.
I also have Onward Reserve, the apparel.
Right.
And then what else do I have? BioLite, the energy drinks.
Yeah.
Things like that. Just small stuff. I enjoy it, though. I don't let it take control of me, but I do it all. I mean, if they
you do it yourself,
out,
you just do your deals yourself.
Yeah, and if it gets too much, I'll just hand it over to somebody and say, please take care of it, because I don't want it to distract me during the season. But I do radio shows sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I do a few
good.
Auburn radio shows during the season and stuff.
I'll have to have my people get a hold of your people. See what we do a little Auburn radio show. We can have a little Auburn love on it up there in Huntsville, Alabama. We got a lot of Auburn fans. All right, and at the very least, I mean, you take gear if it comes to fishing, right? You take gear, right?
Yeah.
You take a half a dozen rods and reels.
Why not?
Bait casters, maybe a couple of spinning rods, and then we'll hook you up with some
jigs,
Rapala,
maybe.
some jigs. You like jig fishing?
Yeah.
I got dudes. I'll talk to Logan Parks. I'll talk to the guys at Auburn. I say, hey, come on, man, you're tight end. Is a big time fisherman. Get
That's
you out there. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us. We wish you the best of luck this season, and go tear them up.
Thank you all very much. War Eagle.
All right, there you go. It's a good kid right there. It's a good kid. Big guy, too. And he made the right decision, sticking with football. He's an NFL tight end. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's get our break in here. It's a good job of them firing it. We needed to get that top of the hour in here. Let's get that top of the hour break. And when we come back, Vince Ferreira is scheduled to join us. We'll talk about how things are going with the Tennessee guys here today. Next, right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And welcome back, Thom Abraham Show on location here at SEC Media Days. It is the final day of SEC Media Days. One of the things I didn't ask the commission, no, I'm not going to ask him about Jeremy Pruitt, Brandon. Brandon wants to know when he's going to clear Jeremy Pruitt. What do you care about Jeremy Pruitt for? You don't want Jeremy Pruitt back in Tuscaloosa as the defensive coordinator. All right, just stop it. I mean, the guy's toxic, all right? And Pete Golding is fine. You know, has there been a guy that's taken more heat than Pete Golding as a coach, you know, at Alabama? Yes, they've struggled some defensively, but let me just tell you something about that, all right? When Nick Saban is the head coach, that's Nick Saban's defense. I'll just put all of that on Pete Golding, all right? Nick Saban's hands are all over that defense. So when they struggle, he owns it. Nick Saban owns it. And when he do great, he gets the credit for it. All right. Was anybody saying anything real positive about Pete Golding when the Tide were playing great defense? No. You guys always want to pile on, you know, Pete Golding. Like everything is Pete Golding's fault. Everything is not Pete Golding's fault. The system is in place. Have you ever listened to Pete Golding speak? The system is in place for them to have great success. At some point in time, it comes down to execution. It's like what the coaches were talking about earlier in the week. Michael Casagrande from AL.com must be writing an article. I haven't even been to AL.com since I've been here. But he must be writing an article about trick plays because he has asked the question of every coach down there that I've heard about trick plays. You know, what's your philosophy on trick plays and when you use trick plays and trick plays and trick play. You know, it's at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. Whether it's a trick play or it's not a trick play, it's all about execution. All right? So it's the same thing with defensive play. So stop with Jeremy Pruitt, all right? In any event, you know what I hate? Vince Ferrara is supposed to be joining us here in a little bit. Bottom of the hour, Jimbo Fisher. Not with us, Jimbo Fisher in the main room, all right? And we will have that for you here at the bottom of the hour, and we'll hear what Jimbo has to say. Did we find out that, I mean, they just brought two guys, right? They didn't bring a replacement guy or anything like that. I'm looking over at Captain Cool. I had asked you to find out whether or not they were. What did you find out? What did you learn? Anything? Did they bring anybody else?
I found out nothing. Nobody told me anything. Nobody even knew.
Did you?
I asked a few people on the way
You
to the
did
water,
ask?
Yeah. But most of the people,
But you were really looking for water more than anything
yeah,
else.
everybody is here, but, you know, it's already out, and they're not filling it back up.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Well, at least, you know, on the fourth day, they put water on the radio deck here. What's up with this fly?
Oh, almost got him.
Man.
Almost got him.
You're losing it. You're losing it. You know what I hate? I hate when, and Grace, you can weigh in on this too. I hate when you meet a player from a team that is a rival of your favorite team. Because, look, you can say what you want, okay, about how, you know, we're in the business and I had a favorite team when I was 12 years old and, you know, we're supposed to be objective about everything. Let me tell you something. Any talk show host that's worth his salt is still a fan. You still got your teams. Because if you don't have a team, if you're not passionate about it, what are you doing in this business? Right? Don't tell me that you don't have a team. And we're not all like Tyson. Now, Tyson's lucky, see, because he comes from Iowa. So his team is Iowa. Nobody cares about Iowa here. He doesn't offend anybody here. Here, if you're an Alabama fan, you're offending everybody else that's a fan of Georgia or Auburn or Tennessee. If you're an Auburn fan, you're offending all of the Alabama fans. So it's harder. If you're an Iowa fan, nobody cuts you. You know, they don't give you any garbage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you meet a dude from a team that is your rival, and you like the guy. You know, like you really like the guy, and you're like, this is a cool dude. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hate on the guy. That's the problem. I hope he gets drafted by the. I said the kid was only on for 8 minutes. I said his name 3 times. All right. Who said that? Who? Granville? We were talking fishing. What am I going to tell you? John Samuel Schenker is his name. I said it over and over again. How many times do I got to say the kid's name? He was. They always got to critique me. That's all right. I don't care. I got thick skin. You know me. I'm not going to last 6 months in this business. I had him on for what? Eight? I think, yeah. I remember when I first got to Huntsville. Yeah, you won't last 6 months here. I don't know. 18 years later, I'm like, yeah, I'm still here. Every 2 questions. That's kind of the rule of thumb. Hear that, youngin'? Every 2 questions you say to you. I'm looking over here at Captain Cool and Bailey too. That back there at the studio with you. Every 2 questions you mention the player's name. Every 2 questions or the guest's name. He had long answers. Granville, whoever you are. I don't know either. But Grantville, whatever the dude's name was, he had some long answers. So anyway. He's a good kid, and now I like him, and now it's gonna be a problem for me. Can I pull for the Auburn tight end and just nobody else? Maybe. I hope they lose 21-17, and he has 2 touchdown catches, something like that. All right, I'm going to take a break here, and when we come back, Vince is walking up now. He looks hobbled, but he's walking up now. So let's get a quick break in here, and then we'll come back with Vince Ferrara next, right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Thom Abraham Show. Longtime friend Vince Ferrara joining us. And he's admiring this Roadcaster board. We were talking like about gear and stuff like that because we're radio guys, and we get like all excited about this thing. So we use these for our high school football games. Our crews take these out for the high school football. We have a high school football network that's got 3 different games on, so we have 3 different crews on, and we use these out there. And they put the commercials right here, and they do everything from the stadium themselves. And then they have there's 4 mic mixers, and then this is Bluetooth. And what I'm doing here is I'm playing from the electronic room. I'm playing interviews on my laptop, Bluetoothed to this board.
Awesome.
And then it sounds, and it's crystal clear. And then it has that big fat record button there. And if I need to record an interview or whatever, we just hit that button, and it drops it on that little SSD card. Or there's an app where you can transfer it directly back to the computer off of the Bluetooth through the app.
That's unbelievable. Why don't you go ahead and hit record since we're getting started
well,
now?
Tyson did something here. I don't know what he did. It says, and now we got this big red thing. It says file system errors. So I don't know if because we pulled it out. Maybe if we just hit OK, we would be okay. I think we. Okay, he did it. And look at this. Look at the mixing. It's got all the mixing stuff and everything else electronically.
It is beautiful.
And now you're being recorded, so don't say anything bad. Let me tell you how old we are. This is Ferrara here. Vince used to work at the Tusk in Tuscaloosa, radio station there. You gave my oldest son, when he was a freshman at Alabama, you gave him a job as an intern, sweeping floors and doing whatever, running a board.
Come on now.
Whatever you wanted him to do, he had to do. And now here you are with me and my youngest son, who just graduated with a communications arts degree. I don't even know what the hell that means, from UAH. He's sitting here working for the radio station as our social media director now. So we're old, man.
Antique.
16 years ago that was with Joe.
Yeah, that's right. It was the mid-2000s.
2006.
Yeah, 2006. I started at the Tusk in 2004, I believe it was. So, to 2009. So, just crazy. Yeah, we're antiques.
How's it going for the Tennessee guys here? We heard a little bit of Brian Harsin, we did hear a lot of Brian Harsin. We heard Josh Heupel at the beginning. This is like Brian Harsin, though, his second go-around.
Right.
And how does he handling it?
I think, in terms of Heupel specifically, Heupel's done well. Really no newsworthy information that comes out all that much. I asked in the main room about all the attention that Cedric Tillman is going to get. He's the most productive returning wide receiver in the SEC. Had a breakout year last year. He had 8 career receptions going into last year. Thought about transferring, but stuck it out when Josh Heupel talked to him and said, here's what we're going to do. And man, what a blessing for him and for the program to get that kid to stay here and just blossom, get out of Las Vegas. So Heupel talked about, look, he's going to get extra attention this year, but we need other guys to step up, and we as coaches need to find ways to get him the football. And Tillman was like, well, that's coming on me. I got to be better at route running. I got to take it to the next level. So little things like that from a football standpoint, but nothing really that's going to make waves. And they weren't coming here to make waves. But I tell you what, when you sit down and talk to them, all those guys are impressive. All of them are seniors. All of them are graduates. All of them are key players. You could argue that Tennessee, outside of Alabama and Georgia, has the best trio here all week in terms of quality of players.
And by the way, Jimbo Fisher coming up at the bottom of the hour live, guys. You'll hear that as soon as he takes the podium. We'll dump it down there to the main room. Last year, everybody got really excited. 7-5, like, ooh, this is 7-5. I sat here last year, not here in Hoover last year at SEC Media Days, and said 7-5. I looked at that thing and I thought 7-5, and they were 7-5, and there was a lot of excitement about that. I look at this year's schedule when everybody's saying, do they take the next step now? Veteran quarterback, all those things that you talked about. I look at that game at Pitt, and I feel like if they win that game at Pitt, they're 8-4. Is there other upsets on the docket? I don't know. They're going to be an underdog, and those. If they lose the game at Pitt, I think they're 7-5 again, and it could be a better 7-5 than last year. I don't know, but what are you seeing? Is this somehow a 9-win team, or what? How do you see it unfolding?
I think they can be a 9-win team, but I have them at 8. And there are 4 games.
You beaten Pittsburgh?
Well, there's 4 games that I would say are in that 50-50 range. There's Pitt, there's LSU, there's Kentucky, and there's Florida.
Yeah.
And
those are the toss-up games.
Yeah, those are the toss-up games. And what typically happens with toss-up games? It's going to be kind of split. Unless you're an elite team, you're going to split those toss-up games. I think there are plenty of games on there that you could say definitely Tennessee wins. And there's only really 2 L's that you could say for sure, and that's Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
So
I think a swing game is at South Carolina. You were just going to say it.
Yeah.
That game is at South Carolina, down there in Columbia, and you know how that gets down there.
Yep.
And I wonder a little bit about the game at South Carolina.
I agree with you. I think that's a little dicier. I think Tennessee will be the better team. Doesn't necessarily mean
they will
they'll
have the
win.
better team,
right?
But yeah,
it doesn't mean they'll win.
You
at
know
South
that
Carolina.
guy Shane Beamer is going to bite somebody in the butt. You know that's the kind of thing. Any game like that, he'll win. He might bite somebody.
Well, here's the thing about Josh Heupel so far. Last year in year 1, and it can certainly change in year 2. He beat the teams he was supposed to, and he lost the teams he was supposed to on paper. So if you play that game, they're in that 8-ish win range.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to split your 4 50-50 games. I think the back end South Carolina, that might be the game that maybe takes them to a 9 versus
if they beat Pitt.
If they beat Pitt,
Pitt is not going to be a slouch. I know that they lost Kenny Pickett and the wide receiver.
Jordan
I get all
Addison,
of that,
yeah.
Jordan Addison, but I think going to Pitt is a thing.
Well,
whatever the name of that stadium is.
Yeah.
not Heinz Field.
Over my head.
Yeah.
But Keaton Slovis transfer from USC, and he was hyped big time going into last year. Lost his gig. Does he find it in Pitt? And then also they have Baldonado, a kid from Italy actually, and he was born in Italy. He wrecked Tennessee in that Pitt game last year. He's a potential high-round draft pick as a pass rusher. So they have some individual talent. They'll be solid and well-coached. It is a road game for Tennessee. But I don't know which one of those games are for sure L's, but I do think they're going to split those 4 swing games.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. But there's certainly a lot of attention for them. And up there, it feels like, when Jeremy Pruitt was there, you always felt like you had you felt like you needed a shower when that was all over. You know what I mean? You needed to be hosed down with a power washer, when Jeremy Pruitt was done. But with Heupel, it's the one thing. Now, they need to play some defense. They got to start playing some defense. That's the Heupel thing. He's got to do something defensively.
Well, in today's college football, you don't have to be Georgia's defense from last year. I mean, who is?
Right.
But you just have to make some key stops at key moments.
It'd be nice to win a game with 24 points once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And not have to score in the 30s or 40s to win a game.
Exactly. But I think their offense is going to do that. They did that to Georgia and Alabama. They put up a bunch of points and gave them as tough a game as anybody did last year. So they'll put up points. They just have to get some stops. They were terrible on third down, especially third and long. Quarterbacks that would scramble. Oh, man, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett in the Pitt game. Just crush them on third and long, moving the chains. They got to be better in that area. Maybe get a few more turnovers. And that you can give up all the yards you want if you can make some stops on third down and turn some teams over and get some cheap points or short fields for your offense. They don't have to be great. They just have to be not bad on defense for this team to get to where some fans honestly think they're going to be, Tom. And that's in that 9-10 win range.
Yeah.
Maybe a
little
little
right
optimistic right now, yeah.
Vince Ferrara, friend of the station, friend of the show, friend of me for years.
Yep.
And man,
not necessarily in that order.
Not in that order. Probably in the opposite order of that. But I appreciate you, man. Always good stuff.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Thanks, Tom.
All right, thank you.
All right.
We get back to coaching and doing the things we got to do.
Jimbo Fisher down there in the main room. Take a listen.
Fun summer as it goes across, but excited about our football team as everyone is this time of year. Got great new additions to the class coming in that we're excited about with some the older guys. It's just fun watching them develop and play, and very pleased with our off season as far as it goes. But back to spring, I think some of the things that went on last year in our team, we were 8-4, and disappointed in that we didn't play as well as we needed to in some critical situations, but still very excited. We had some very young players because of injuries that had to play, and last year we had to bring those guys along slowly, but right now I think that's turned into a strength for us, and with a young center and a young tackle and some situations occurred at corner, situations occurred at wideout that I think have let a lot of our young guys develop, and I'm very excited about our team coming up. But as everybody is, everybody in this league has players. everybody in this league has good coaches. So it's what you do and how you play. And we can sit up here and say what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, how good we feel, but it's about what we do and creating a culture within our organization, which we feel like we have. The young guys have adapted to it very well, and I'm very pleased with our senior leadership right now, with a lot of guys jumping out and doing a really good job. You'll see two of them here today, in Damani and Layden. And where we're at, I think our coaching staff, the new additions with Steve Adazio and DJ Durkin, those guys have really fit in and done a great job and added some different twists and nuances to our program. And they're great ideas. They've all been very successful at different places they've been. So excited about that part of it. Like I say, it was one thing today. I actually saw rain. That's the first time I've seen rain in 3 months. It's been 100 to 106 in College Station for 3 straight months, and I didn't know rain existed. I thought it went away. So I'm glad that hopefully y'all can push some of that rain our way to there. That's the biggest news of the day for me, that it does rain again. I didn't know if it did, so excited about that. But like I say, we're getting ready for camp coming up. We'll report next week as a staff to have everybody full go on Monday and what we do, and looking forward to the season where we're going. Questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Lisa, Jim, or Jesse will get a microphone to you. Coach, we'll start right here in the center aisle, right in front of you, about 6 rows back.
Hi, Jimbo. Jeff Spiegel, ABC 3340 in Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
When you look back at the press conference in May, do you have any regrets over how that was handled? Do you feel like you owe Nick an apology? And how did things stand between you and him?
Listen, we're great. We two competitive guys that go at it. Listen, we all learn from things we do in our business. You got two competitive guys on a topic that is very everywhere, as they say. There's no rules in this thing and where it goes, and each state has different laws and everything. And like he said, I heard a statement he made, the arguments we had in the staff room and on the basketball court and all those things. But on the basketball court, we didn't have them. We were always on the same team. So we usually had them against other people. So I have great respect for Nick. And that's unfortunately our thing went public, and that's sometimes that happens in this world. Nothing's private anymore, is it? Anyway, but no, we have great respect for Nick, and we all learn from him. We all will learn. Like he said, he will learn. Hopefully I learn from things we do and say, and we move on from there. But have great respect for him and their program like always.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left on the second row.
Coach Fisher, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. You did say some very poignant things about Nick Saban, and then and NIL is very real. We know that it's here to stay. And one of your staff members was caught on video telling some recruits that they were going to be paid very well for playing football.
No, that's not what he said. Those guys pay down there very well. And what he meant was he was a young guy, had been there about a month. He was doing a turn. The guys behind those seats are what pay for your program. Those are donations and boosters, and how he said it and how he spoke. Now, we all have NIL? Yes, we do. But that's what he was meaning. And it's a transform thing that we say with all recruits. The guys behind those things are the guys who pay for our program and what we do and the donations, and that's what it was. He'd been here 1 month.
And what do you take from you worked for Coach, you worked for him at LSU, and you used the terms like organization. What's the thing that you took most from him that has influenced your coaching career after working for him and seeing what he's built at Alabama?
I think diversity in organization and the different aspects of a program that they've grown. I think he was one of the first guys into mental health and things, which has been a very forefront thing for me ever since I've been a coach and as an assistant or as a head coach that we put a lot of time in. I think now is jumping out. I used to joke in the ACC meetings. I told some guys sometimes, I said, and the head coach, I said, the biggest issue we have in college football and in my mind is mental health. And he said, well, that's not our problem. I said, well, I think it is for everybody. We just didn't realize it. And I think that was one of the things he was in the forefront about, getting help and getting guys to understand how to handle the different pressures that they go through as a person, and each year it's changing, and because of social media and the different things that are going on, I think it's huge, and I think those aspects in organization, and he's a great football coach.
Coach, we're going to stay over here on our left side in the fourth row back. Dennis.
Dennis Todd, CBS.
Now, you walked out on me earlier, daggone, when I was in there talking.
You're going to get us later, so we got half an hour.
Okay, I'm just giving you a hard time, Dennis.
It's good. No, just a hypothetical question. If there's no NIL, do you and Nick have this public beef? In other words,
no, because of the things, the way what he said when I said, that we're moved on from it. But NIL, like I say, guys, there's no rules. Each state has its own rules. I mean, it's not just an NCAA thing or a national thing. There's each state, like for instance, in Texas, we cannot bring up NIL to a recruit. We can't say it, we can't promise. All we can say, if guys on our team have it, that's all we can say. Other states can prevent written contracts. They can send you a written contract to a guy. I've been going through that in a recruiting thing that I mean, it's just the world we're in, and we're frustrated because there's no unification of what happens and the way it happens. You know what I mean? And it's just a different day and time. But listen, change is inevitable. That's the rules we have to play by, so we all have to adapt and adjust. And if you either adapt and adjust or you don't, one of the two.
Coach, we're going to go straight in front of me, right on this near aisle.
Jimbo, David Nuno, Texags. With all three quarterbacks on campus since January, how has that competition evolved in having them all three together?
Very well, and I think they're learning off each other, and I think they're doing a great job of watching each other and being very competitive with each other, but also helping each other. I mean, you know, very pleased. Finally, as I say, at the end of spring, you finally saw Max starting to grasp what we were trying to do. You saw Haynes' his health really come in. He knew, and I think really in the last month, while I've seen his feet and the way he's throwing the ball has really jumped out at me. Connor, so natural and effortless, and this, as he grasps what's going on, it's going to be a fun battle. I mean, and last year we really needed three. I mean, you saw Zach in the Alabama game. As I said before, he had hit a knee hit, come back from that. In the Auburn game, he actually popped his shoulder back in place. And the doctor said he could play, so he played. I mean, he went through it. You really need a third guy. And to have three guys, that's rare in today's time. But I think we got three outstanding guys, and I'm very excited to work with them.
Coach, we're going to go over to our right side near the back.
Hey, Jimbo, Travis Brown with the Bryant College Station Eagle. Two questions. First, a lot of scheduling models thrown around. If there was three permanent opponents, which three would you like to see A&M have? And then just your overall, what are some of the strengths of your offensive line?
Well, I think the scheduling model, I think, is critical, especially as conferences expand. I think the ability to get everybody to play everybody, because you're talking about a conference champion now, and not being able to play each other and make sure you do when a guy is there in school is going to be critical. And I think conference champions can be determined by now by how the schedule falls. And that's, you know, that's never been the case. It's because you always played them all. But I think probably the model of three is much better, because I think it gives you more consistency and, you know, helps keep some traditional rivalries, because I think that's the one thing we're trying to do in college football that to me makes college football special. The rivalries of college football and trying to keep as many traditions as you can with the expanding world. Because listen, things are inevitable. They're always going to change. But if you can keep as much as you can, I think it's great. So I think that model will be there. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Strength of the offensive line.
Oh, the strength, which I was very, like I said, last year we had to play a true center, a true freshman center that only had half a camp but never played center, because we have an injury to a guy, and we had a right tackle who had to play as a freshman, and that was tough times at Limes last year. But being able to have that now, I think, has really turned into a strength, and I think is going to be a strength of our football team, one of them. Very excited about our offensive line. Coach Adagio's done a tremendous job, but he and Layden and Bryce and Trey Zoom now playing at left tackle along with Mocha, some of those other guys in the battles that are going to be had, size, athleticism. I think Steve's done a great job, and so something we struggled with early last year, I think it's going to be a really big strength of our football team. And I'll say this, in this league, you got to have guys that turnovers and big plays determine the outcomes of games more than anything, and you got to have them. But in this league, if you look in the history of it, the guys who can play in the trenches on the offensive and defensive lines have always had tremendous success.
Coach, we're going to go right here in front, just on this near aisle.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media in Nashville and Huntsville. In your coaching career, you've been very fortunate to be with programs from your assistant coaching days to now as a head coach, to be with programs where the realistic, you know, end of the year thing is to win a national title. Yep. How does that prepare you year in and year out?
Well, I think you know how to get there. I think not, all right, the expectations are, but all those places, we had a 20-game winning streak at Auburn. We won national titles at LSU. We won national titles and won 29 in a row at Florida State. So it's not just the expectations of it, but knowing how to put it in place. And I'll say this about our program right now. From a depth standpoint and a competitive balance, listen, when you're a great team, is when your practices are so heated and so competitive, and that you know you can't take a day off as a player because someone's taking your job. That's when you really become, and to the first time from a depth standpoint, not from a great player standpoint, but from a depth standpoint, that we're getting to that point right now at A&M at a level which I'm very excited about, with some young guys pushing older guys getting better, guys, it's going to be a heck of a battle, and it's got me the most excited. So I think when you're talking about winning national championship, it's not just understanding how to handle the expectations, it's organizing and structuring the team to get to those points. And I think we're really right now at the beginning of that stage where we can do it consistently, and I'm excited about the future of our program, really am.
Okay, Coach, we're going to go over here to our left side, the fourth row.
Yes, sir.
Nebias Wilborn, AL.com. You earlier mentioned Calzada popping his shoulder out. One, what was that game like against Auburn, and what is Auburn getting in Zach Calzada?
Listen, Zach is a tremendous human being. I have utmost respect. I hate to lose Zach. No lie. I mean, Zach is a competitor. He has tremendous arm talent. He's competitive. He's tough. He's smart. And he's a team guy. Zach will do anything in the world to win for his teams. As you say, stand in there. And as they say, when your quarterback takes shots like that and does things like that, your team has great respect and plays hard. And I think you're getting a great human being with a very talented football player. And it's going to be a pain in our tail when we play him. I know that. I know he's getting a battle right now. But Zach is a very talented guy, and they're blessed to have him. And I know he'll do a great job for him. What did he say?
Memories of that game. Memories of
the Auburn, that game. I mean, looking over on the sideline and going, I got to put a walk on him, Blake Bosa. I was very confident in him, but he looked at me and those big eyes and scared. And then the ability for him to play with that shoulder, and not only play, but play well and make plays and make throws. I mean, it's one of the great memories I have as a coach, because football is a game of sacrifice. Listen, we don't want guys to ever be hurt. We don't want guys to ever play where their bodies can be injured for a long period of time. But football is a game. There's going to be times like that you have. And to me, it's just a great honor to have coached somebody that tough and that competitive.
Okay, we're going to go to the right side on the far aisle, near the back.
Brent Zorneman, Houston Chronicle. Jimbo, you've long had a policy that true freshmen did not talk to media.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you adjust that in the NIL days when they are now available for pay?
Well, we're going through that whole process right now of how we do it, and guys that are ready for it. We're trying to make. It's not just that you don't want them. You want them to make sure they're ready to talk to media. You know what I mean? And we think they are, because listen, I know y'all want sound bites and y'all want news, and freshmen are the best place to get it. I understand that part of it, but we'll make sure that those guys are the guys who are ready for it and going through it in the future.
Okay, Coach, we'll go right down here in front, the second row. Bob on the left.
Hey, Jimbo. Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. I had a two-part question. Going there, I guess, your fifth season, I know you've recruited at a high level. How do you feel about the overall strength of the program and just how you are going into season 5? And then I know, obviously, disappointing you don't have Anais here. I mean, kids screw up. What was your reaction to that? And what do you think? How do you think he'll respond to it?
Well, with Anais, I mean, listen, we're getting all the evidence and the things that go on, then we'll make a comment. We have no comment at this time. I feel, like I said today earlier, I feel as great about our program right now as I have since I've been there, because of the depth of it, because of how we're recruiting, what we're recruiting, and I think the foresight to be, a year ago, to be 4th in the country, to be one game. We're the only SEC team with one loss in the playoff world to never get in the playoff. I mean, I thought we were at that time as good as anybody in the country. I really did. I mean, Alabama had a great team, maybe the second best team, but like to have a shot in the playoff. But hey, that's part of it. Should have won them all. I felt very good. Disappointed that we didn't play as well last year. Had some injuries, but still, it doesn't matter. You still have to finish, and we didn't finish at the end. But saying all that, I like where we're at right now. I like the mentality. I think we've been to the highs, been to some disappointment right there, but we have depth and talent, and I'm looking forward to the competitive battles in practice, which are going to allow us to develop. Because listen, you are what your habits say you are on a daily basis, and when pressure comes, that's what's coming to the surface. And you have to practice that way, because you know somebody's there to take your job. It makes a lot better habits created, and I think that's what we have to do, and we have to learn to finish at the end of the games. That's the thing that got us last year.
Coach, we'll go right down here in front of you in the second row. Philip.
Philip Marshall, Auburn 247. How you doing, Jimbo?
How you doing, Philip? Great to see you, buddy.
You've got LSU starting quarterback. Auburn's got your starting quarterback. How crazy is all this?
South Carolina's got Oklahoma starting quarterback. USC's got Oklahoma starting quarterback. Wild, wild west, isn't it? It is crazy. It's the times we're in, and that's just the world. And did you ever think it would come to that? No. But at the same time, it's not transfer. And there's reasons to transfer. I get that, but I think, sometimes I hope these guys will at least try to stick some things out at times, but there are reasons, and it makes it an interesting show, that's for sure.
All right, we're going to go straight in front of me, about 4 rows back. Kirk.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American Statesman. Mm-hmm. I don't think you mentioned the 3 permanent rivals that you personally would want. And do you feel like you have everything in place there now to be a top 10 program?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we've been it once. We've already done it once. We've been top 15 a couple times. We're in a position to do those things. But, I mean, of course, you want Texas. When Texas comes into the league, when that schedule comes in, you definitely, because of that rivalry. I think the LSU rivalry is a great rivalry. And then, but it's not, that's probably our 2 biggest. And Arkansas goes into that too, but I don't know if I don't think that was one of our 3 that they equated to us in what we did. But, I mean, you're going to play great teams all across the board, but you got to get those rivalries. And I would say right now probably LSU and Texas, I think, will be definitely for sure. And I think our third team on our gamut, if I'm not mistaken, was Mississippi State. It's another West team. I believe it's the way it was. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But, I think the Texas rivalry is important. I think the LSU rivalry is important.
All right, Coach, we're going to go straight down in the front, about 3/4 of the way back.
Jimbo, Joseph Goodman, AL.com. This question comes from someone who transcribes interviews for a living. How do you speak so fast?
You got to get your thoughts out. You want to be here? How long do you want to be here? Huh? And think about talk slow. And much as I get information, I give you lots of information in a short amount of time. I'm a reporter's dream. Dadgum. Huh? How could y'all be complaining about that? I could sit here, I'm be slow and drawn out. Let me think about it and where we're going, what we're doing. You want me to do all that? Heck, I get you in, I get you out. See, you know what I'm on? I'm on a limited amount of time I'm used to in coaching. You only get so many hours with the player, this stupid 20-hour rule. Well, you get 1 hour meeting. You got to get as much information in as you can.
All right, other questions, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. All right, we've got one down right here in front. Glenn.
You sounded like Saban when you were talking a second ago.
We're from the same place, so you know.
What is your wide receiver depth without Aeneas, and do you hope to have him back early in the season?
Like I said, I have no comment because I don't know all the information, and I'll get it. But I mean, Chase Lane is really. I really like what he did, and the thing where he was playing a year ago. I think Evan Stewart's evolution there, Devin Price, and that Moose Muhammad is a guy who played really well at the end of last year. I'm happy about him. Now Kenyon Jackson's the guy we got, but he's been hurt off and on, so hopefully he's a big body. But these young freshmen, I'm really excited about. There's some really good guys, and I mean, 3 guys that I'm extremely high on. You saw Evan, who was our MVP of our spring, which is, I've never had a freshman come in and do that. But then you got Chris Marshall, and then Noah Thomas, who I think are both highly, highly gifted, skilled guys that can jump in there. Plus, you got your tight end. You're worried about your tight ends. And then the other thing about that, our backs, a chain is a big-time receiver, too. So the ability to throw the football, we get concentrated on receivers, but tight ends and backs are a big part of that now, too. And we've signed 3 very, very gifted tight ends, and I'm really, Jake in the spring, and the other 2 guys I'm really high on in the summer, too. So we'll see. And you got Max Wright coming back. You have Blake Smith in that group. So all those guys will have a chance. So we'll see. But receiver-wise, we feel good about it. And that's why I say our passing game, we got to get better. We need to throw better. If you go back, we were throwing for 4,000 yards before people did it. Back in 3,000 and 4,000 yards at Auburn, LSU, and on those days, we were throwing it everywhere. Florida State, we did it with Jameis and that whole crew. But then we've gotten some great backs. But we have to throw the football better, and we know that, and we will. And we know how to do it, so we'll get it down.
Okay, we'll go back over here to our left, second row. Bob.
You got 2 of them in. That's good.
Oh, yeah, I got another 2-parter for you. Kevin can help you out. It seems like the transfer portal players move around the league, but so do coaches. You hired, I guess, Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin. What do you like about him? What's he brought to y'all? And then you mentioned, you'd like to maybe have Arkansas be one of your permanent teams.
Well, I just said that's a rivalry in A&M history. You got to pick. You can only pick 2. Really, then you pick 2, and then we rotate off. But DJ goes back to my days when I was at Florida State. He was at Florida. And he was a coordinator there. He was assistant coach there. And they had some great defense. They had great players, but they had a great defense. Their scheme was hard to go against. It was very sound. It was multiple, did different things. And as his players' talents changed, they changed what they did. And he was very difficult to go against at different times. And then, of course, what he's evolved to and doing different things. What I love, he's always been a 4-down guy, but he went to 3-down package at Ole Miss because of the personnel they had, which shows you, to me, how good a coach he is, what he does, being able to adapt to his personnel. And I think his diversity, his knowledge, his wisdom, and been around a long time, and I think he did a great job for us in spring.
All right, Coach, we're straight down this middle aisle, about 3/4 of the way back.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Coach. Lance Griffin with Wolf Radio in Dothan, Alabama. Commissioner said earlier this week that college football isn't going back to what it was before.
Yep.
But he also said it doesn't have to be what it is now. What is the sweet spot for college football? What makes sense?
I think some kind of uniformity. I think that's what he's talking about. I mean, change is the conference is going to change a little bit. They're going to move the rules. But I think the NIL, the uncertainty of NIL and the difference in the rules per state, what you can do and how you can do it, affects recruiting. And listen, at the end of the day, we can coach all we want. You got to have good players. And you got to be able to get that uniformity together and create some kind of balance that everybody has the same rules. about what you can and cannot do, and I think that's what I think he's talking about. But like you say, change is inevitable. Life's always going to change. It's always going to move, and you either got to adapt or get ran over. And I think that, to me, that's probably what he's talking about. And whether the transfer portal, I don't know where that goes either, where the situations with that. And I think that's where we're such chaos is everything's hit. You've got conference realignment, you've got NIL, then you've got NIL on top of transfer portal. So, I mean, when you're putting, that's three major changes in everything we've done for how long? I mean, I don't know how many years it's been. I mean, and everybody, and what we're all scared of. What is human nature? What's human nature make you scared of? The unknown. And we have so much unknown, and that's why we're all on edge and panicked about what's going on.
All right, we have time for a few more. If you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you.
Daggone. See, get all your information in a short amount of time, we can get out of here.
Very efficient. We're going to start up here in the second row.
Trudy Armand, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach, in this NIL area you talked about, you've dealt with talent and players throughout your career, but how now do you balance it with a freshman coming in, high profile, like an Evan Stewart, who looks like he's going to be a big impact guy in your program, with the returning players, and how do you kind of manage the locker room?
Well, I think we've always recruited at a high level in different places I've been, whether it's LSU, whether it's Florida State, and my competition, honesty, and the best players play. If you're the best player, you play, and it's about competition. I think great players respect that, and I think it makes them raise their game. But I think the honesty and communication is the key. Communication is the key to everything, and I think that's where we got disenchanted in college football, to answer your question. I mean, there was no communication on it, and all of a sudden, instead of ready, aim, shoot, it was ready, shoot, aim, and everybody just started implementing rules, and everybody was panicking. There was no communication. There was no unification, and I think that's what you have to do as a coach. That's our job, to make sure they understand what we do, how we communicate with them, and listen, it's open competition. I ain't seen a rule in the rule book that says freshmen can't play, but I ain't said one that says they have to play. That's all up to them based off the competition and the opportunities they have. And I think that's where you have to be in your locker room, to always be on top of those things and have a good, fresh line that kids can talk to you, you can talk to them. And I think as long as you communicate, you can always work out every problem.
Okay, we'll stay over here on the left side, fourth row back.
More of a philosophical question here.
Yes, sir.
With the combination of NIL and the transfer portal, what would you like to see as far as like hard deadlines for transfer dates? I know the SEC has a different date from the rest of the college football.
The dates I think are very important because it does unify you, but at the end of the day, they're still going to leave. I mean, whether it's just in that time frame or the other time, they already have it planned all the way up. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to have a huge effect, but it is as far as your roster management, maybe for practices and things that, if you lose them during the season, you got bowl practices and spring practice, those types of things. You either know right before spring or after spring if they need to go through it. So I think from that regard, it'll be there. Man, the unification thing is just give us all the same rules. I mean, in the NIL, just give us all what each state can actually do and what you cannot do. And to me, that's the rules we have. Just so we all have the same rules, you can't complain. You know what I'm saying? And then whether you have haves or have not, but has there always been haves and have-nots in college football? Has there ever been true competitive balance in college football? There's always been the haves and have-nots. It's just this is affecting it in a different way. And so those are things I think, but as long as you get unification, it should be fair.
Okay, we'll go straight down in front of me, about midway back.
David Nuno, Texas again. Jimbo, just with tight end being so important to your offense and Jalen moving on to the NFL, can you tell us a little bit about the guys that you have there and how they have to grow up quickly?
Yeah, I mean, Max Wright, who we've moved to tight end, has done a really nice job. He's very physical, learning to become a better receiver, good hands, plays very consistent with what he's doing. Blake Smith is a guy who's really emerging out, has really good ball skills, is running, was a quarterback his whole life, but big body, athletic, very instinctive to play, learning to be physical to line of scrimmage was very important. Garza, who is a very big body guy who was hurt in the spring, we haven't seen as much of, has talent. And then we signed three guys. Jake Johnson, who came in the spring, 6'6", 245 pounds. That's Max's brother. Very talented, great hands, great routes, great understanding. Played very well. Didn't play in the spring game, but got hurt right at the end, but played very well. Then you have Theo Mellon, who we went to Sweden. He come over from Sweden, who I think is extremely talented. 6'5", 255 pounds. Can really run, tremendous ball skills, double move guy and versatility. And then Donovan Green, who came from where Jalen did this, and this guy's, he can do it. He was a great basketball player, 240, 45 pounds, catches it so effortless, can run and play. But now, they got to play in this league. They're very talented. How tough, how quick they pick things up, and but very excited with the group. And you got to remember, the first 2 years, our first one, Jalen was a guy that played as a freshman, and our first tight end was a freshman, a JUCO transfer that we put in 1 year, so hopefully we can get that same production out of him.
Coach, we'll take one final question here, second row, right
Yes,
up.
sir.
Mark Passwaters with Rivals. Speaking of fast talkers, what drew you to Steve Adazio when you came to replacing Josh Henson?
Well, one, I coached against him when he was at Florida, had tremendous offensive lines, very physical. Then he took the head job at Temple and had great linemen. Then he took the head job at Boston College. And we had some real, when I was at Florida State, man, our defensive fronts were gifted. We had a lot of first, second round draft picks. They blocked them as well as anybody. They had a couple guys in there that got drafted high, but a bunch of guys that were just blue-collar guys, and their schemes, their toughness, their physicality, and I always had great respect for Steve. The way they blocked us, the way they got after us, the physicality they played with, the consistency they played with, our guys hated playing those guys, and they knew how to do all the little, they were so fundamentally sound but tough, and you give a guy great talent like that, and he coached, and I think he's off my tree as far as he's tough love. He loves to coach hard, be physical, but then he puts his hand around him and loves them hard when they're off field, and I think our personalities match, and he has a great passion to be an offensive line coach and his recruiting, and just had great respect. I've sat in head coaches me. I know how he thinks, you know what I mean, for many years, and they battled us, man. They did a great job with some guys that didn't have as much talent as we had, but man, played great games and did a great job against us. Had great respect for him.
Coach, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
That is Jimbo